Uncharted is now playing in theaters everywhere, so let's talk about it. When I bought my PlayStation in 2016, the first game I bought was the Uncharted trilogy, and then my PlayStation came with the fourth Uncharted game, A Thief's End. I played the games, I enjoyed them, I know the characters, I'm familiar with them for sure. I wouldn't say I'm a die-hard Uncharted fan, but I am a casual fan of the Uncharted video game franchise. So going into the movie, I obviously hoped it'd be similar to the video games, but also I kept an open mind. I wasn't too attached to any ideas about the movie, and I was just ready to enjoy myself and have fun. I did go to a movie with an Uncharted super fan. Nick is a mega Uncharted fan. In fact, me and my friend Greg met Nolan North, the voice of Nathan Drake in Uncharted, just so he could write Sic Parvis Magna, and Nick could get it tattooed with his handwriting. Nick, how many times have you played the Uncharted games?
Like 5 times.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you for this movie?
10.
10's accurate. So I went with him because I was curious on how our experiences would differ when watching the movie. And it comes down to, I had a lot of fun watching the movie. I thought it was great. I loved the fight sequences. I loved the chemistry. I thought the performances were great. And I gave it like a 6.5 out of 10, 7 out of 10. There's some things that we'll talk about in a second that I was like, eh. Nick, on the other hand, who is very familiar with the Uncharted games, very passionate about them and the characters and the storylines, he didn't enjoy it as much as I did. He thought it was fun. He also enjoyed the fight sequences. He thought there was a lot of really creative elements that they added to the movie. But overall, he was definitely upset with how some of the characters were introduced, some of their storylines. And he was a little bit more disappointed, and he didn't have as much fun as me, a casual Uncharted fan, would at the movie. But that's all pretty vague, so let's actually dive into specifics. Tom Holland was significantly better as Nathan Drake than I anticipated. Now, I don't 100% agree still with the choice to have Nathan Drake be portrayed in that age group. I still would have liked to see a little bit of a more older, grounded, experienced Nathan Drake on the big screen. But they were doing kind of an origin story type for Uncharted. So for that sake, I get it. I definitely was really impressed by Tom Holland. I was definitely worried that we were going to get Peter Parker instead of Nathan Drake. And there was definitely moments where I was like, that's a good old Spider-Man joke. But nonetheless, I thought Tom Holland was actually really great as a character. And you could tell that he was super passionate about the role and the story that he was telling, which always shows in your performance. So I will say, when it comes to Nathan Drake as a character, it was a little weird that he was already kind of this established fighting badass, I guess. He was definitely sloppy when fighting, but he was also super skilled, and there was no backstory. So if you're unfamiliar with the Uncharted games, you're kind of expected to just be like, oh, okay, Nathan Drake, his very first mission ever, he's kicking everyone's butt. So that was a little bit that wasn't done very well in my opinion. I definitely think realistically, and as I know we're talking about Uncharted, it's not that realistic in a lot of moments, but we think realistically, 90% of the situations in the movie, I highly doubt Nathan Drake would have survived. Mark Wahlberg as Sully was a surprise in a very positive way. If you are an Uncharted fan, you definitely have this look of Sully that you want to keep in your mind forever. So when they announced that Mark Wahlberg was going to be playing the character, people weren't really thrilled about it. I mean, he doesn't have his traditional look. He doesn't have his Hawaiian shirt, his cigar, his mustache, till the credits scene, which I was very happy about. But regardless, I think Mark Wahlberg does a great job kind of establishing the character and sticking to what makes the Sully Sully. He doesn't care about you, he doesn't trust you, and he will look out for himself unless you're Nathan Drake, which I'm glad they didn't rush that transition for Sully's character. That's not something you really see towards the end. He has this great moment, predictable, but still a great moment where he stashed the treasure into one of his backpacks, and at the end he ends up sacrificing that backpack full of gold to save Nathan Drake. Great moment, again, predictable, but definitely needed, so I'm okay with it. Plus, Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland have just such a great chemistry as Sully and Nathan Drake. I hope they get more movies so we can keep seeing that relationship develop, because I really do think it's great. The beginning of their relationship in the movie is kind of forced and a little bit awkward, but it definitely grows into itself. Tati Gabriella is great. She was a fantastic villain. She was ruthless, she was swift. I mean, she was evil. It was great. I loved her. I loved her performance. I thought she was great. I thought they did a really great job with her performance. She's the one character where I probably can't think of, it's a little bit weird. I really, really enjoyed her character. She was definitely a must-watch in this film. Sophia Ali played Chloe. Chloe is from the original Uncharted games. They did change her backstory. In the movie, Chloe finds like a treasure when she's a kid, and the father takes the treasure, sells it, and abandons them, which really is a weird thing for Chloe's arc. So I think that's not really the case. I think in future movies, they'll probably circle back to her and give her an arc with her father and kind of resolve that issue. The main issue with Chloe in Uncharted, the movie, was she felt like a knot of loose ends, if that even makes sense. It very much felt unresolved. She backstabs Nathan Drake and Sully in the middle point of the movie, and then she abandons the villains, and then she has this great moment where you think she's going to establish trust with Nathan Drake and she's going to redeem herself, but then she fails Nathan Drake's little test of the fake coordinates, abandons him, and that's kind of it for her in the movie. It's like, haha, you got. Sucks for you. No redemption. Definitely a character that'll come back later in this franchise if they keep making movies to where she'll probably have that redeeming moment. But she definitely, at this point, has a ton of loose ends that can only be solved by future movies. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you don't always want to have a character fully developed and fully redeemed in one movie. But for her, for some reason, it's just... she was so wishy-washy throughout the movie that you didn't really... I don't really have a care to see what happens to her. It just feels messy. I don't know. Her character was kind of a gray area in the movie. That's not Sophia's fault as an actress. It's more the writing. And that's really the biggest issue I had with Uncharted, was the writing seemed a little bit weak. The lines were cheesy, moments were forced and rushed. Introduction with Sully was just weird and awkward, and it wasn't like an actor chemistry thing. It was just played out and choreographed weirdly. So that was kind of... you kind of get into the rhythm of things throughout the movie, but there's definitely moments where, like, what were they thinking? There's one moment in particular that's really weird, but they're in a bar, essentially, trying to find hell for the two keys, and Tom Holland and Sophia, aka Nathan Drake, and Chloe are together, and Chloe goes to Drake and says, hey, we need to blend in. So they dance with each other for a solid second and a half. They go to the bar, and the reason they need to blend in is because the bad guy is literally right there in the club with them. So they're trying not to be seen. And then Nathan Drake gets the idea, oh, I'm going to set a fire to the bar, which then has everyone looking towards them, including the bad guy. And then they fight, and Tom Holland kind of gets his butt kicked. He escapes, but he gets his butt kicked. And it's like, what? Where was the logic in that sense? It's just nothing about that seemed right. And I would have understood it if Chloe was the one who set the bar on fire, because 10 minutes later, it's, revealed that she's actually working for the bad guys, trying to get the treasure and the map for them, and not Drake and Sully. But she wasn't the one who came up with it. She came up with the logical idea to blend in, which they abandoned after 2 seconds. However, what really worked in the Uncharted movie was the fight choreography, the sequences, the action. It was so much fun. My favorite part of the entire movie, when the 2 helicopters had the pirate ships filled with gold, and they were flying through, and then they were having sword fights and swinging across, having gun fights. We got the iconic Nathan Drake strapping in his iconic gun straps, and it was so much fun. It was like an amazing 15-minute sequence. It was perfect. It was pure Uncharted, and I absolutely loved it, and I was having a blast during that sequence. The movie did a great job with that, literally starting off with action and keeping you engaged. So that's why, for me, the movie was so much fun. One thing I also really enjoyed about the movie is I loved that they incorporated kind of a puzzle aspect. They were solving puzzles throughout the movie, which is a big part of the Uncharted gameplay. So that was really cool that they incorporated that, and it was smooth and it fit really well and it wasn't forced. So I really appreciated that. A lot of fun with Uncharted. I came into it with an open mind. I'm a casual fan of the game, so I can appreciate seeing the characters on the big screen. Love the fight sequences. My friend Nick thought it was fine. He's a mega Uncharted fan. There were things that he was disappointed with, but again, when you invest so much of your time into a character, into a story, and you see an adaptation of it, you're going to have strong opinions. It's just how it is. So to me, I think it's a great sign when a casual fan has fun, because that means if you don't know the Uncharted games, you're going to enjoy this movie, and you're probably going to want to explore the video game. So to me, I think that's the goal of this. And I think they accomplished that pretty well. I had a lot of fun with that movie. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. Let me know in the comments if you saw the movie. Let me know your thoughts. Feel free to have any opinion you want. It's always welcome on my page. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed my review. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and check out the Big Screen BearCon on TikTok and follow me on Instagram at BearConDOfficial. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.